Hey guys, it's Steve with Hobo with Wood. Um, just a quick disclaimer. I have it in my channel description. My videos are intended strictly for entertainment purposes only. They are not instructional videos or how-to videos. Should you attempt to do anything or replicate anything that I've done or emulate any of my practices, and there's any bodily harm that takes place, I'm not responsible. I don't know what I'm doing. Okay? Okay. So, with that said, I have been using LightBurn now for about 35 days. I know this because I just had to purchase after my 30-day free trial expired. So, I'm very new to LightBurn. I'm very new to using laser engravers. I have the Xtool D1 with the RA2 Pro, and I've been using it for about 25, 30 days. I've already broke it. I've somehow managed to crack the lens on the laser, so I'm not getting proper power out of the laser to the project, and it's not producing correctly. So while I'm waiting for a replacement lens, I am now reduced to just doing design work. So while I said I'm never going to produce instructional or how-to videos, I am going to show you how I design my projects in LightBurn, and this is going to be a quick project designing a cell phone holder, something to prop your phone on while you've got it on a charge. It's quick, it's easy. There are a few things that you should have. Digital caliper, is a must, an absolute must. It doesn't have to be digital. You need a caliper. You need to be able to measure the thickness of the product or the materials you're working with, or else you're not going to know how to set up your cuts. An ink pen or a pencil, something you really need, because you're going to have to write down some stuff. Scrap paper. I'm using my Amazon paper, Amazon receipts. And then some material. This is a piece of scrap that I have had laying in the workshop, and I said, you know what? This is a good piece of birch, but it's not a full piece. So I'm going to try and make a project or two out of this scrap piece of material. All right, so if you've got those things, let's get started. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is we need to measure the thickness of our material. And you don't want to measure your material in one place and say, okay, that's my thickness. You're working with wood here, and depending on, and just because you measured it yesterday doesn't mean it's going to be the same as it was yesterday as it was the day before or the day before that. Depending on the humidity and different things, your wood can swell. I got jokes. All right, so I make myself laugh. So you want to get a measurement in several places and take the average. And in this case, I'm looking at about 4.3 millimeters. 4.3 millimeters on the thickness of my material. So take that pen or pencil I was telling you about, write that down. And then since I'm going to be making a phone stand, I've got my phone. I want to take the measurements of it. Now I'm using the Galaxy S20 Ultra, which is one of the larger cell phones out there. So these measurements are probably good for any of those little bitty Apples and those things that the pretend phones. And the measurements on my phone are 3 inches by 6.5 inches. So now that I've got those measurements, I can begin to do my design. So the basic design for, get this out of my way. I don't know if that's it's something y'all see. All right. I'm going to have 2 rectangles. And these are going to interlock with each other. And let's get these on a different path. There we go, and go there, select, there we go. Now, I'm using LightBurn 1.2 in this instance. I think there might be a new version out now that I need to upgrade to, but this is 1.2. Their last upgrade, they have a lot of labels and settings on the different layers they didn't have on my previous version, so I'm still learning what's going on. But there we go. We've got them in line mode so we can see these. This is going to be my primary piece that my phone is going to rest on. So I know my phone measurements are 3 by 6.5. And so if I come up here and set that up, that's the size of my phone. I came here, 3 inches by 6.5 inches, and that is the exact size of my phone. Now I've got my measurements unlocked, and let's say if I don't want it to be the exact size of my phone, I want to go 20%, not 20%. I want to do 100. All right, you know what? This is another my favorite button, the undo button. I don't want to do 20%. I want to do 120% of the width. And now that gives me 3.6 inches wide, so it's a little over ½ an inch, 3/10 of an inch on either side. A little over 1/4 inch, which is plenty. But I don't need to get a full 20% here, so let's give it 110% and see what we got. It's 7.1, rounded off 7.2, just under 7.25 inches. That's 6.5 inches original phone. So that I like that. I like those dimensions. Now, these dimensions are going to be crucial to know what these are when it comes time to set up this piece, because this piece is going to interlock and slide through the middle of this and serve as the kickstand for the phone. A little confusing, I'm sure, but it's going to make sense. Now, once I have decided and determined what my base sizes are, before I start editing anything and changing anything, I like to make a copy. So I highlight it, select it, Control D, duplicate that. Now, I'm going to set this off out over here. So if I completely screw up everything with this, I've got this. I don't have to go back and undo and refigure and everything else. So I've got this. I want it to, let's zoom in to where I'm working with just this, more or less. All right. I want to give this top 2 corners a radius, and you can do that down here with the radius figure here. Now, you change the size of your radius. I've got it at 1.019. Let's see what that looks like. That's a little bit big, I think. No. Oh, I like that. So we're going strictly off the cuff and designing on the fly here. So now I need to have a place for my charging cable to come through the bottom here. So create another little square, or a square, rectangle, and doesn't really matter too much about the size of this, but we're going to use this same image multiple times. So before I marry it or integrate it, I'm going to duplicate it and set it to the side. So let's see here. In fact, this one, come on, go out, select button. I always forget that. All right, select. We're going to go ahead and delete that one. We're going to duplicate this one and set it off to the side with my radius. All right, now here, zoom in to that particular image, and we're going to give this the same radius. So at least we thought we were. It's not going to let me do that because this is so small, the radius is too large, so we got to reduce the radius size. Still not letting me give it a radius that, oh, come on, a little smaller. There we go. See how we got the crosshairs there? If you get too large, there you can't get a crosshair. It's not letting you give it a radius because we're working with too small of an image. So 3.94, see, that's way too big. Undo button. Crosshairs, and that'll work. Done, done. Okay. Now, zoom out. Yeah, that's going to work. Select, we're going to Control D, duplicate that, set it over here. Now, I'm doing this because we are going to use that image or that shape multiple times. Now, zoom on out here where we can see this. We've got that one selected. Hold the Shift button and select that one. And we're going to come up here and we're going to tell it to align at the bottom and align vertical center. Now, that image, those two, and that's awful tall. Now that I've got them together, I'm going to move this down until I get it to about there. And I'm flying off the cuff of my pants here. I'm making this up as we go. But this radius and the size and width is what's important, not the height, because we're marrying these in different images and cutting them out. All right, so now that I've got that, hold that and select Shift, come up here to my tools, go to the Boolean Assistant, Boolean, I don't know how you say it, but I like this assistant because you've got all this over here on the side, the same things. You've got your union, your intersection, and then or subtract A and B. But not, or this is intersection A and B, that's subtract A from B. But when you're learning this and you don't know which one you want, and depending on which of the two items you selected first, which one's A, which one's B, it's first and second selection, of course. But if you don't remember which one you did, you always go into the assistant. And this is nice because the assistant shows you before you select it what it's going to do. So it's reset. So there we have both of our objects selected. And if I go over union A or B, that's not what I want. Come here, that's definitely not what I want. That's not what I want. But that is what I want. I want to subtract B from A. So say OK. And now that image is done. I have married that little bitty rectangle with that rectangle, and there's my cutout for my wire to come through the base. Pretty slick, huh? I think so, since I don't know what I'm doing. Okay, now this image, or this rectangle, needs to have the same overall width of this, because it's going to be what the phone sits on. It's going to be the ledge that protrudes off the face here. Part of it's going to slide through with the remaining piece sitting out. In fact, let's see here. Let's just, our height is 7.15 or 1499. And this is where I shouldn't have deleted that other one, 7.1499. And then our width is 3.6. Notice I've got it unlocked, so I'm able to edit each of those parameters without it messing up the other one. So there is the original. So I know this is the exact same width as this piece. However, I don't need it to be the same length. Let's give it, let's see, we're talking about the height here. Let's work with about 80%. Do I need 80% even? how long is that? That's 5 inches, a little over 5.5. We're going to give that a shot and see what we've got, what it looks like. Actually, no, I don't need that whole thing. Hit our undo button. We're back to our original size. So of this amount, I'm actually going to be creating the part that's only sticking out of the face. And I only want about 20% of that total. Okay, so that's the ledge that's going to be sitting on the face. And how tall is that? That's 1.4 inches. So the phone will be resting on that, and it's 1.4 inches. It could actually even be smaller than that. Yeah, it can be half that size or a third of that size. So let's take this on down. Yeah, 3/4 of an inch. Let's give her 3/4 of an inch. Okay, now that's the ledge, but I need to have part of it sticking out the back. So let's do, what is our thickness or our width? It's 3.6. So we're going to start with 3.6. That's our starting point. We don't need it to be that long. We need it to slide through this piece. So let's give a 1/4 inch. So we're going to go a 1/2 inch. So we'll go 3.1 inches. I'm designing in my head and in the screen at the same time. It's going to make sense when you see it come together here. Actually, it can even be narrower than that. Okay, so I looked at the phone, and I'm just going to make this 3 inches. Because we don't, that one. That's fine, 3 inches, but here, 3 inches, and the width, we're going to make it, and like I said, making this up as we go. It's how I design. And yes, if you can spend $2 or $3 at Etsy and buy an SVG file yourself, but then it's not yours. Just say 2.8. All right, I'm liking that. Okay, I want to combine this with this, and when I do, I want my overall to be about 3 inches total. So doing that, there we go. That was 3 inches. All right, 3 inches. Now, select that one, hold the shift, select that one, align it to the bottom, align it to vertical center. Now that's good. Now if I take that, and okay, yeah, that one I was thinking there for a second. All right, go back to my tools and my Boolean Assistant, and I want there. Yeah, that's the one I want. That should just union. All right, done. Okay. Now that is going to slide through here where you say, well, we got to make a slot for it. But this is now the exact width of this, so it's only going to slide through to that point. But we got to have somewhere for our cables to go. This is going to be the kickstand that it rests on at the back. So at this point and at this point is where it's going to be standing, making contact. So the cable's coming through here. It's got to come through there as well. So we take our pattern, we're going to use that again. So Control D, set it over here to the side because we're going to need it. Bring this down here. Uh-oh, wait a minute. The radius is on the wrong side. So got this image selected. Let's zoom in on it so you can see what we're talking about. The radius is on the top. I want it on the bottom. So with that image selected, we come up here to this mirror button and flip. Flip. Now it's down where we want it. Now let's go down here and marry it to the piece that we want. And again, I don't need that full length. Yes, I could just edit that down and be done with it. But it doesn't matter because I'm going to marry these two and it's going to go away anyway. So now that, hold my shift, select the two. I want to get it on vertical center. There we go. See it move just a little bit. Select, select, back to my Boolean tools. I don't want that one. Don't want that one. Don't want that one. That's the one I want. Okay. Now, I said we needed again because that's going to have the cable come through, but I need to be able to have the cable come up through the front of it. So let's go back to full page, grab this, bring this over here, and zoom in on those two. Select and hold shift and select and give it on vertical center. All right, now this cutout needs to be at least halfway through the width of the potential of the phone. So it could go on all the way in back in through there, but I don't think I want that look. I want to have a little bit. In fact, if you wanted to, you can come here, and I've got my snap to grid on, so there, that's temporary. Escape, go away. There shows me how far that's going to be. So go away. Select button. There we go. About there looks good, I think. All right, now I've got my distance set, so let's check and make sure that I didn't change the vertical center, and I had. That's good. I can get rid of this because that was just per gauge. Now select and select and Boolean. I figured that's what it was, but I wanted to see it before I select it. I like that assistant. All right, okay. I did not duplicate that again after using it, but that's okay because I'm pretty sure we're done with that particular cutout. All right, now we need a slot for our piece to go through. Now, I'm putting up a random rectangle there because we know that the material is 4.3 millimeters thick. So we're going to switch here from inches to millimeters, and we're going to tell it 4.3 millimeters. And we know that the width of this is 3.6, and we don't need, and actually we don't need that. We need, I should have wrote down the width of that a minute ago, but I did not. But that's okay. Let's, because I need to know the distance from here to here. Go to our ruler, and if we come from this line, and let's zoom in some more here. Zoom in. There we go. Now go to our ruler, go to inches, and we're going to come from here to here. It's 2.8, 2.7956. There we go. This 2.8 inches is the thickness of that. Okay, so I need this slot to be, I go 2.8. In fact, actually, we are going to go 2.8. I'm going to show you why we're going to use 2.8. Tab. All right, now that thickness, that is going to be how wide that is. Set, select. All right, zoom in here and take a look at these two. All right, so that's the exact thickness of that. And I want this larger piece to be able to slide through this slot, which is going to be cut into this piece. Now, since I haven't made one of these yet, I'm simply working on the design here. I'm not real sure how far up or how far down that needs to be, but we're going to go with down about like yay. And then once I cut one out, and I would, before I do any design work or dressing this up, I would actually cut my two pieces and make sure that the function works and then go into a creation. But there, about there looks good to me. So hold my shift key, select them both, get in heart or circle center. That's good. All right, now, why did I do the exact measurements of this and this? Because I'm going to put this on a cut path. And then open up here. And you're going to determine your number of passes depending on the material you're working with. But if you come to your kerf, you can, that would be an inward. We don't want to come inward, we want to go outward. And when this laser, the X-Tool D1, has a 0.08 cut width of the laser. We're going to say another, just say 0.04 outward. Okay, so that's going to come out half the distance of the width of the laser, making that hole larger than it actually is by half the width of the laser. So that should slide through there nice and tight. You can do the same thing by just increasing your height and width in order for that to slide through. But then there you've got to take into consideration the width of your material, the width of this piece. There, here we don't have to do that. All you got to do is put it in your kerf, increase the kerf around it, and now that should fit nice and tight. All right, so there's that. These are all going to be cuts, but this is the only one that needs to be with the kerf on it. So keep that in mind. You don't want to put all these on the same layer and then use the same kerf, and then you've got no kerf for your slot. Okay, so that should be the basic designs of telephone stand. But let's make this look a little nicer. So come here, select that. We're going to increase, let's see, select our radius. There we go. We're going to increase it. And say radius. Why are you doing this to me? All right. Radius. There. There. Okay. Okay. Now, this and this are outlines. They're going to be the cut lines. And I want to give it a little design. So I'm going to come in here to the offset tool. And we're going to offset inward, and we're going to do a 0.02. Nope. 0.1. Nope. Come on now. Fingers. 0.1. There we go. Yeah. 0.2. Yeah, 0.2. All right. So this is going to be on a different path. No, on that one. That one's just going to be, I don't like these labels they put on here. I've got to figure out, and I can go in and change that and get rid of that. And just, we're going to say this is a line. I haven't set any perimeters up. That's just going to be a line engraved around the face of that. And then we come to this one, do an offset, same 0.2 inward. Okay, we're going to put it on the same path. So now when this slides through here, these will line up and have a continuous little engraved line around there. That continuous line, it'll look good. Just give a little definition to it. Now, before I would continue with this project, normally when my laser is working, when I have a lens that's not cracked, I would cut those three pieces, run those three cuts. Cut with the kerf, the outline of both of those, and then put it together and make sure it's going to stand and function correctly. Because you make it pretty all you want, but if it don't work, it don't matter. But I don't have my laser. We're assuming it's going to work, and just showing you how I go through my design process. All right, let's see here. Now I want to add some graphics. Now, I'm going to take a second and give a shout out to Rich, the Louisiana hobby guy. He's one of the channels that I subscribe to. I highly recommend, if you haven't subscribed to him, subscribe to him. He is definitely giving you instructional and how-tos. Again, mine are never supposed to be instructional, but just entertainment. You might learn something. You might learn what not to do watching mine. But Rich, Louisiana hobby guy, it's a good one to watch. And he has one he talks about his art libraries. And if you go to his website, louisianahobbyguy.com, and join his group and his forum, he shares a lot of his artwork with you. But there I learned how to set up my own libraries, and I created some artwork and add this to the graphic. Done. But there, I've already got this set up in my library, and I'm able to just pull it right into any project I'm working on. It's really nice to have. I always do that wrong. All right, control, shrink her down, bring her over here, and I want her to fit within that line. And then once I've got her, we want to make sure she is centered. There we go. And then let's add a little text. Text. Don't really like that font. I like for, oh, why didn't you let me change my font here? There we go. I like the school book. And that snapped, so that should be good, but we're going to check it. Actually, you need to group all those together first because those are all centered. Now we got those grouped. Check that and check this one. It did not move, so that's good. All right. I think that's enough. Don't need to get crazy. But you could personalize these instead of class of, put in their name, put in initials. It don't have to be in college, of course, be anything you want it to be. Now I'm actually going to ungroup these because I want to lift that up a little bit. Actually, bring back down. There we go. All right, I'm liking that. There we go. And now we can see how this thing's going to cut out. In fact, cancel that. Go back here, set our priorities. The first thing it's going to do is engrave, and then do our line, and then do our cuts. And I need to do that kerf, the inner one, first. These are things you need to think about, and when you're doing your priority. I've got a solid piece right now, no lines, no cuts. Engrave in my images and my letter and my text, and then and I'm not talking about powers and settings and all that in this video. I'm just showing you how I go through my design process, because all your settings are going to change depending on the material you're working with, your laser, because my settings are not going to work on your laser. So these are things that you should have already, you've done test cuts on the product, your material you're working with. So we're not talking about those now, but we're talking about here how you want the cut to take place. So the engraving to happen first, then the line around both, and then the final, and that's labeled curve cuts. It's not curve cuts. This is just cut. Okay, that's cut, that's cut. Now I've got my priority set. Let's take a look at the preview. And that's 20 times speed, play. So you're just going to come in, do our text. The wonderful University of North Carolina Tar Heels. And I would probably actually do a cross hatch and line after cut if I was actually engraving this. That's something else that for a different video. Actually, this is cross hatch, because there you see it. It did everything on the horizontal. Now it's doing on the vertical. And that's why it's a half hour to cut this out, because we're halfway through it, and that's all we're going to have done here is our engraving our design. If it wasn't the crosshatch, it would have been done by now. But the crosshatch gives, and the line after cut, man, that gives it a real definition. All right, now we begin our cuts. Actually, this is the line, not the cut. That's the line. That's the line to match it. And once we've done our line, now we come in and do our curve cut on the inside, and now we do our cut around the perimeter. And I've got it set on multiple cuts. Because I didn't set any of this before we did our preview, and then our final cut around that. All right, so that not so quick video, but that was a design from start to finish. Like I said, I would have done some test cuts and fittings and checked functionality before doing that complete design, but there we just designed a telephone stand, a charging stand for our telephone. So I hope you enjoyed that. I'm Hobo with Wood. I'm Steve. If you've liked this, you've enjoyed it, you've taken anything from it, great. If you haven't, well, you're probably not watching at this point. Thanks for watching. Sticking with me through the end of the video. If you have enjoyed it, please subscribe to the channel. Share it with any friends in the community that you think would benefit from this, and anyone who's learning LightBurn. you don't have to pay for all your files. Well, we spent a half hour or more designing this, and you can buy this or something similar to this on Etsy or offline for, $1, $2, $3. But it wasn't your design. It wasn't your creation. This is yours. You can make this your own, and you can edit it and do whatever you want, put whatever kind of graphics you want to, and save your basic template, and then add your graphics, sell them as warranted, create them, personalize them. Again, thanks for watching. Subscribe to the channel. Help me get to that 1,000 subscriber milestone, and let's continue engraving, burning, and having fun.